Mike Trout, newest member of Major League Baseball's 400 Home Run Club. Hi everyone, this is Will O'Toole, Park Ridge Sports History, and this week I'd like to do a little in-depth study, fun little study, on the 59 members who are now in baseball's elite 400 plus home run club, and some of the guys who didn't make it. And recently, of course, we have Mike Trout, the newest member. I like to consider him in many, or actually I did consider him at one point because before the injuries really knocked him down, and the fact that California, or the Angels, the Angel franchise, has really never done enough to put Trout into the postseason, where they are a legitimate threat to get to the World Series and potentially win a championship. And when, of course, or this past weekend, when Trout hit his 400th home run, a blast against Colorado's Jaden Hill, he became the newest member. There's only 59 of them. And guys like Johnny Bench and Yogi Berra are not among them. But guys like Dave Kingman are. So I'd like to explore a little bit about that as we talk about the great players of 400 home runs. Now, I calculated, and of course, take this for what it's worth. I was doing some quick study on this before I did the show, and I kind of listed all the 59 players and did a brief study of the wins and losses that the teams had in the games in which they hit 400 home runs, and also the overall batting average and potentially RBIs and home runs hit. And what I did notice was this. There was a trend. Earl Weaver used to say, pitching, defense, 3-run home runs are the keys to winning, or that was his strategy to winning the Baltimore way. Well, 3-run home runs are really hard to come by. And it is interesting because in a past show with the Orioles, I wanted to see how close Weaver was to attaining those three elements. And really, 3-run home runs, or any guy on base, is much less frequent than obviously the solo blast. And I was always amazed with that, because I'm thinking with guys on base, you would think it might be easier for a guy to just flat out launch it and try for the seats, knowing that if he hit a fly ball to the deep part of the field, he'd be driving in at least one run and really not sacrificing technically an at-bat or his batting average. But of course, always the assumption, and you know what, when you make assumptions, and I was wrong about that. In fact, obviously, grand slams are the most infrequent. The most are the solo blasts, and it's almost in line. Solos, then 2-run homers, then 3-run blasts, then, of course, the grand slam with 3 runners on base. And really, in this study, I will tell you this, it did not go out of that realm. It did not break from really a scientific study of that, if you think about it, the research, because the majority of the home runs that were hit were solo blasts. In fact, when I did the study of the home runs, I found that over 60% of the home runs were solo blasts. Now you're talking about 59 home runs, so you're talking about 36 home runs, and then the other 3 would make up, the other 23 blasts. So it was amazing. The batting average was amazing, though. These guys really had great games. Now, obviously, I get it. You have one hit at least with the home run, and you either go 1 for 3 or 1 for 4. But when I was doing the study, and of course I'm probably off a couple, maybe a hit or miss on a couple of it, but I think for the majority, I discovered this. Those games in which the players hit their 400th home run, they hit 452. Now, it could be a little bit higher. Obviously, it could be a little bit lower, right? One game that stands out for me is Lou Gehrig's when he hit his 400th. He was in his game, he was 4 for 4 with 4 RBIs, but it was a solo blast. And the funny thing is It was an 18-0 wipeout of the Cleveland Indians. He happened to hit his off Lloyd Brown of the old Cleveland Indians. All right. And Gehrig, of course, one of my favorite players of all time. Done many studies on him or talked about him many times on Park Ridge Sports History. 7 home runs shy of 500. Of course, Lou Gehrig's disease, I'm not going to try to pronounce the disease, but curtailed his career. And tragically, Lou retired and was dead really within 2 years. But he at least got to the 400 plateau. And I was always happy with that. I wish he had gotten to 500. And speaking of which, here's a guy who did really say after he retired, wow, if I had known I was 1 home run short, I would have come back to try for the 400th. And of course, that is Al Kaline of the Detroit Tigers, who did finish with 3,007 hits. He did hit under 300 for his career, and unfortunately, he finished with only 399. I wish baseball and Saber and all the baseball researchers would go in and try to find some triple where he scored maybe on an error that we could change it so he would have an even 400. But probably the story of Al Kaline is that it's much better they had the 399 than the 400. But he would have been one of the 60 instead of now only 59. A guy who didn't, though, and I want to talk about him, is I'm going to go to the home run list, and that is Willie Mays. He actually hit his 400th in 1963. Can you imagine that? He finishes with over 660 home runs, so he had another 260 blasts that he would hit in the next 10 years, averaging really 26 home runs. You're talking about a guy in his 30, he retired at 43, so you're talking about a guy from about 33, 34 years of age, averaging 26 home runs, and probably even a little better, because when he hit his home run, hit it off Curt Simmons of St. Louis. Just for all you baseball fans out there, Bonds, of course, number 1, 762. Aaron, 755. 714 is Babe Ruth. 703 is Pujols. A-Rod has 696. That really amazed me. 696. He's another guy. I think he would have tried to, had he not gotten hurt, he probably would have played and gotten his 700th. Mays at 660, Griffey at 630, Jim Thome, amazing. To be perfectly honest, I saw Jim Thome play in Colorado Springs. This is years ago, about 1991 or 1992. And I saw him in a minor league game, AAA, Colorado Springs, the farm team at the time of the Indians. And he was just a spray opposite field hitter. Big then, a little bit more lean. And I'm saying to myself, I can't believe I saw a guy who was basically a spray hitter, kind of like a Wade Boggs. Here he is, number 8 all time, with not just 400, not just hitting the 500, but 612 lifetime home runs. And to round out the really exclusive 600 and above, you have Sammy Sosa with 609. And I was amazed that Thome played 22 years. It's just amazing. But Mays, because we love Willie Mays here, let me just go back. His 400th home run, and believe me, with some of these players, boy, oh boy, you got to really scroll down quite a bit. And the funny thing is, with a guy like Mays, you get the 400, and you still have to scroll down for another 260 home runs. But August the 27th, it was Simmons. I was about to say Philadelphia, but it was Simmons. He had been traded to St. Louis at the time. In that game, he hit his 400th home run against Curt Simmons in a game in which Mays went 2 for 2. Again, a solo blast against Curt Simmons in the 3rd inning. And it wound up really fortifying the what would go on to be the 7-2 win for the San Francisco Giants. Another guy I like to do, and that would, of course, be, let's go back to Babe Ruth. He hit his 400th home run in a Yankee uniform. As I was doing this, I did discover this. Yankees have the most leaders in guys who were playing for them when they hit the 400th home run with 9. Second most are the Red Sox in the American League with 6. And interestingly enough, the Chicago White Sox, who are known more for speed and pitching throughout their franchise's history, they never, put it this way, their first home run slugger to win a home run title was 1971, Bill Melton, and that was only 33. And of course, Richie Allen, Dick Allen, would lead the league in 1972 with 37 to become only the second White Sox. But the White Sox had Konerko, they had Adam Dunn, they had Frank Thomas, and they had Andrew Jones. Couldn't believe that Andrew Jones played for, sometimes because of life, commitment to marriage and children and your job, you kind of you don't have the ability to spend as much time following your favorite players and your favorite teams and all the rest of it. So it's almost like you go into hibernation with your baseball. So you are amazed. I know Andrew Jones, first and foremost, just a great player, known for his defense, great player, came up in his teens, and here he is winding down his career with the White Sox. And it turned out to be a couple of teams that he did play for. I think he played for the Dodgers as well. I'm not on his thing, but I'm going to check that as well. I'm going through Ruth here. Rube Wahlberg was a guy for the Philadelphia Athletics who surrendered his home run. And I'm just checking this out. That was in 1927, in a year in which, ready for this, Ruth would hit 60 home runs. Ruth that day, the Yankees win 12-2. Ruth had a monster day, going 4 for 5, 2 runs scored, 4 RBIs. He actually hit a home run and had 2 sacrifice flies. Ruth's home run came with nobody on. The real show in that game was Lou Gehrig, who was 4 for 5 and pounded out 2 home runs in that affair. The two of them went. Ruth was 1 for 3, 3 RBIs. This is just amazing about these two. They went collectively in that game 5 for 8, 3 runs scored, 7 RBIs, 2 walks, 2 sacrifice flies, and the Yankees just brutalized the Philadelphia A's 12-2. And Wahlberg was not a bad pitcher. He was 15-10 at that point, playing for the Philadelphia A's, who were great, who had that great run there, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32. Wahlberg had a 3.97 ERA. He only lasted 2 innings and gave up 7 runs. The winning pitcher for the Yankees that day, Wade Hoyt, had won his 19th, surrendered 2 runs, both unearned, to lower his ERA to 2.68. I'm going to pull out another guy. I'm going to go to Jim Thome. Jim Thome went 2 for 4, had 3 RBIs. In addition, he had a double. Now, why I say the double? Because in most of these games, it was the home run that was the only extra base hit by the guy who goes into the 400 home run club. Another guy, I want to do Harmon Killebrew because I do spend some time with him. I'm just picking guys. Killebrew, of course, finished with 573. It's amazing. Sometimes you remember how many home runs guys hit. Now, listen, I never really rooted for any of Killebrew's teams. Not that I didn't like them. I just didn't follow them as much as Cincinnati Reds. By the way, Johnny Bench, 389. Does not make the 400. Killebrew, though, he hit his 400th home run. Gary Peters in 1969 was his victim. Interestingly enough, it was early in the year. Minnesota won the game. Killebrew was 1 for 2 with a home run. Nobody on base. Again, it keeps going. Solo shot. He was 1 for 2. Killebrew was hitting 290 at the time. Killebrew, of course, would win the MVP in 1969. Ready for this? 49 home runs among his 400th home run, 140 RBIs, 145 walks, and he hit a solid 276. His on-base percentage was .427. It is amazing. Just a quick Killebrew, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9 years where he had 100 RBIs or more, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons where he had 100 walks or more, including 4 years where he led the league in walks. Sometimes you look at these players and you say, wow, they were really, really good. I want to get to a guy that I am promoting for the Hall of Fame because I'm saying to myself, if some of these guys that are being celebrated today for hitting 50 or 40 or 30 home runs, and they're being celebrated with 210 and 220 averages, and I know he's upped his batting average. Kyle Schwarber, I'm talking about the most because not that I've attacked him, but I'm saying to myself, wow, he is being celebrated, and yet in my day, Dave Kingman was throttled for being a 219, a 210 hitter, even though he hit a ton of home runs. In fact, he wound up his career with 442 home runs. Home run number 400 was hit in 1985 with, ready for this, Oakland. And he hit it off Seattle's Matt Young in a game that Oakland won 11-5, and Kingman was 1 for 3. He was hitting a robust 240, which is amazing for him at the time. Kingman hit his 23rd. There was actually one on. So Kingman going against everything that I was saying. I'm not saying he's a Hall of Famer, but this is what I mean. You really got to consider him. Like, if you're going to consider these other guys with 220 batting averages, and I know different context of the game, better defense alignment, all the rest of it, but you should still, as a major leaguer, be embarrassed to be hitting 220 if you're a home run hitter. It just is kind of frustrating. Andruw Jones, let's just do him real quick. 430, I don't know where I've been. He had 434 home runs. He's still not a Hall of Famer just yet. He should be there. 5-time All-Star, 10-time Gold Glove. He was an integral part of those Braves teams. His 400th home run, though, did not come as a Brave. And, of course, that's who you associate with him to be with the most. His home run, number 400, came off Kansas City's Anthony LaRue, LeReW, against Kansas City on 7/11/2010 while playing with the White Sox. He had 434, and Jones was 2 for 4 in that game. His was a 3-run home run, and he had 4 RBIs. So again, another guy dispelling that. I just want to look up. Let's get to Delgado, who did play for the Mets. His came in a game against St. Louis and Jeff Weaver. The Mets won 8-7 to keep that going. He was 2 for 4, 5 RBIs in the game. He had 2 home runs. He had his 30 and 31st. Off Jeff Weaver, nobody on, and he is one of the few people with a grand slam home run as home run number 400. I was right about this. I'm glad I double checked. It was hit off Jeff Weaver of St. Louis. It was a grand salami. And it was a game, of course, that the Mets won. The Mets, it's 2006. They beat the Cardinals 8-7. I don't want to bring up 2006 too much with Met fans, a team that I do root for, although I'm pulling for my Reds right now. That was the year that they lost the championship series to the Cardinals, 1 game away. Let's just end it there. I don't want to upset Met fans too much on that. But yes, he's one of the few that actually hit a grand slam home run as number 400 to help win the game. But it was the second of 2 home runs in that game. So he hit 399 and then 400. Pretty amazing when you think about it. Let me get another guy. Let's do Yaz. I'll make my brother Eddie feel good about this one. Yeah, and I'll do Williams. Let's do Williams first. Teddy Ballgame, who was robbed, who lost 5 years to the war, service that he never felt ashamed of, was very proud to be a Marine, etc., and done a show on that. Williams, of course, hit 521 home runs. Just for the sake, Bud Thomas was his first victim with the Philadelphia A's back in 1939, April the 23rd, 1939. Number 100 was Joe Krakaukas. I think I said that right. Of the Cleveland Indians, 1942, he hit that. Number 200, I'm having fun here. Bill McCahan of the Philadelphia A's, 1948, number 200. Number 300 is against Howie Judson of the White Sox, 1951 it occurred. And then number 400 comes against Tom Gorman. I had it right. In that game, Tom Gorman of the Kansas City Athletics, so he hit it against Philly and Kansas City. It was the game-winning hit. It's one of the few that you could say, all right, it won the game. Some of them, well, that's another issue, game-winning hit. But this one was hit in the 6th inning, solo shot against Tom Gorman on June. It was a makeup game from June 3rd. It was July 17th, 1956. Williams at the time was hitting, just amazing. It was his 6th home run, solo blast. Williams at the time was hitting .367 with 2 hits, 3 at-bats, home run scored. Just amazing. This is July 17th, and Williams on July 17th is hitting .367. Let's get a guy that was traded many times, and it's the guy who I said on Park Ridge Sports History many times. He is Richie Allen, or Dick Allen, times 2. And many of you guys know, I'm hoping who follow this, all 2 of you know what I'm talking about. And that is Gary Sheffield. Sheffield has 509 home runs. If you asked me today, I knew it was 500, but then I didn't know. And then I did know. I was thinking that he was about 475. But, Sheffield, and he started off with a couple of years there where he struggled to hit double digits. I had a cup of coffee, that kind of stuff, until he really ingratiated himself with the Padres and then Milwaukee and then a number of other teams into the lineup is what I mean. All right. He hit blast 400. Now, why I'm saying this, he hit it with the Yankees on July the 27th, 2004. In a game that the Yankees won, Sheffield hitting third in the order, his only hit, a solo blast. He was 1 for 4 in the game. 297 he's hitting. Sheffield, real quick, he started out slowly. He's another guy that actually played in the Little League. And I believe I mentioned him playing in, I think, the Little League World Series. He started off age 19, he came up. Then age 20, and then 21 with Milwaukee. In the first 2 years with Milwaukee, they gave him a shot, 24 games, then 95. Actually, not too bad. In those 119 games, he actually had 9 homers and 43 RBIs. Didn't hit for average, but was getting on base. All right. Then really, he matures in San Diego, makes the first of 2 All-Star games with San Diego, and is actually traded in 93 during his All-Star season to Florida. Lucky for him. Ready for this? In 92, his first full year where he gets a shot, 33 homers, 100 RBIs, and hits and leads the league. .330 average. That's kind of cool. 3.3 home runs, 100 RBIs, .330 batting average. Actually, if it's to the thousands, his home runs and RBIs times each other, right, gives you like 33,000, right? So then he hits 20 and 73 with 2 teams, Florida and San Diego. Makes 2 more All-Star teams, gets traded again from Florida, LA, makes 2 more All-Star teams, gets traded to Atlanta, makes an All-Star team, makes 2 more All-Star teams after he's traded to the Yankees. With the Yankees in 2004 and 2005, at the age of 35 and 36, he had 70 home runs, 36 and then 34. And he had 121 and 123 RBIs respectively, while hitting 290 and 291. And this guy is not in the Hall of Fame. 22 years, has a 60 WAR, 292 batting average, which is what Dick Allen batting average was for his career. Allen was 358 in home runs lifetime. And yet this guy is not in the Hall of Fame just yet. Mickey Mantle. Got it. Did I do Mickey Mantle for you guys? I'm going to do it right now for you. Home run log for Mickey Mantle. Number 400. Got to make you Yankee fans happy. Home run number 400. And then I'll get back to Yaz. I haven't forgotten him. 400 was against Hank Aguirre on September 10th. Yankees win the ball game. They're playing in Tiger Stadium. I think Tiger Stadium was one of his favorite parks. I'm going to have to do a quick dive one day on that. Mantle went in the game, was 2 for 3, had an intentional walk, had 2 runs scored, 1 RBI. So it was a solo blast. It was hit in the 5th inning, and it tied the game. So it was a clutch home run by Mickey Mantle. Let's go to Yaz, 452 lifetime home runs. Yeah, I know that Yaz has been criticized. Some sports pundits always feel that he was an accumulator of stats because he played so many years. But I just want to tell you something. He had a 96.4, and Yaz was more than just a hitter. And before I get to his 400th home run, I'm going to go off a little bit on Yaz. Yaz played for some terrible teams with the Red Sox. You could actually argue that his charisma in 1967 actually turned the fortunes of that ball club around. They had been at one time rumored. They were almost going to move. That was one of the rumors. All right. But they were horrible teams. They were horrible teams at the end of Williams' career. And playing for horrible teams. And in 1961, Yaz, I can't believe this, had a negative WAR, a negative 0.3, played 148 games for a team, Boston. And don't worry, I'll get to the 400th home run. This was a team that finished 76 and 86, finished 6th in a 10-team American League, but it was a team that finished in the standings. Yankees won 109 games that year. The Red Sox finished with 76. They finished 33 games out. You had 2 teams in the American League that year that lost 100 games, the exact same amount. KCA's and the Senators were an expansion team, both lost 100 games while winning 61. You talk about terrible and how much the Yankees dominated. Only 3 teams finished over 500. The White Sox with 86 wins, the Orioles with 95 wins. 4 teams. The Detroit Tigers with 101. How would you like to be the Tigers and finish 8 games behind while winning 101 games? The Yankees were just far and away the best, a machine at the time. All right. The Red Sox were in the middle of the pack, really a mediocre team. And that happened to be Yaz's first team. Let me go back to Yaz. And he finishes with a -3 on a team with, ready for this? Go figure this out. Jim Pagliarone, who, had a good season, 1.2, 16 homers, 58 RBIs. Pete Runnels hit .317, played first base, 3 homers, 38 RBIs. So you got a weak hitting first baseman. I know for average, but that's not where you want a guy hitting for average, first base, if he's not going to hit home runs. Chuck Schilling, not Kurt, led the league with 738 plate appearances, drew 78 walks, and hit .259. Yaz played 148 games, had 11 home runs, led the team second in the team in RBIs with 80, third on the team in runs scored with 71, and he finished with a -3. Gary Geiger, who played 140 games, had 18 homers, 64 RBIs, and hit .232. By the way, Yaz hit .266 and had 50 walks. Okay, Geiger had 87 walks. Okay, but Geiger had a 1.7 WAR, to Yaz's negative .3. Well, maybe Yaz started off, quote unquote, slowly, but there was no Geiger in 1967 when Yaz went with a leading WAR of 12.5. 112 runs, 44 home runs, 121 RBIs, 326 batting average, 418 on base percentage, 622 slugging percentage. Drew 91 walks. He led in WAR, he led in runs, he led in hits. Oh, I forgot that, 189. Home runs, RBIs, and of course, batting average to win the Triple Crown. For those people who thought that he was an accumulator, okay, had his down years, 15, 12, and 19. He also had a bad shoulder. In 1972, people don't realize this, he had 2 home runs at the All-Star break, still made the All-Star team, but finished that year strike shortened. He went on a tear, and remember, the All-Star game was July 25th, very late. So over the last 6 weeks or so of that season, last 8 weeks, had 10 home runs and led the Red Sox to a second place finish. They lost by half a game to Detroit. All right, so he has a couple of down years. Then at age 36 and 37, hits 20 home runs and drives in the exact same number, 102 RBIs. Listen, I could go on and on. He was not an accumulator. He was a productive hitter. Even at the age of 43, had a negative .2 WAR, but still had 10 homers, 56 RBIs, and hit 266 with 38 runs scored. Yes, made the All-Star teams in 82 and 83 on reputation. I get it. But still, you're talking about maybe he's not an elite A-plus player, and maybe he's not an A-minus player, but he's certainly at B-plus, A-minus. He's at that cusp just on his defense alone. Oh, by the way, Yaz probably played left field the best. Not only was he in an MVP hunt, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 years, including at the age of 1978, at the age of 38. All right. But he was a Gold Glove winner 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times, including 1977 Gold Glove winner at the age of 37. He's not an accumulator. He's a great player who was just able to keep himself in such great shape that he was able to last 20 some odd years, 23 home runs, 23 seasons. His 400th home run was against Mike Morgan of Oakland in a game in which, that was on 7/24/1979, the Red Sox won the game at home. Eckersley actually picked up the win. Yaz was 2 for 3, 1 home run, 1 run scored, 3 RBIs, and Yaz's actually had a man on, and it was in the 7th inning to pad the lead. Actually, it broke the tie. It was 3-3. It was a game-winning hit. So Yaz was a clutch game-winning home run, his 400th to win the game. Incredible, Yaz. Incredible. Just a couple of more guys that we don't really hear about. Here's a guy. Here's a blast from the past. Let's do 2 Cubbies. 2 guys I loved as a kid. One was Billy Williams, who finished with 426. By the way, Gil Hodges, 370. Fisk, 376. Norm Cash, 377. Frank Howard, 382. So Mike Trout, you're in an elite group. Oh, here's another guy with 399. I actually got to meet him years ago in the Bahamas, and I tried to get a picture with him, and I couldn't find my wife anywhere. She was taking pictures of the beautiful gardens or something in this hotel, and I said, I couldn't believe it was Andres Galarraga, and the only thing I could say was, Big Cat, the Tony Perez of the Montreal Expos. You belong in the Hall of Fame. Now, maybe I got some things wrong, and I would fight tooth and nail about Galarraga being in the Hall of Fame, but he finished with 399 home runs. Another Al Kaline. Dale Murphy, 398. But that's a true story. He was a monster. He was a monster. He had to be about 6'3". He was built. I mean, he was just a monster. Some of these guys today, they're built like middle linebackers. It's incredible. All right, let me just do Billy Williams, and then I'll finish up, if I can, with Ernie Banks. Two guys who unfortunately never get their due. They were great players, but of course the Cubs always finished, never got into the postseason. Williams did play with the A's in the postseason in his last year of retirement. Before he retired, his 400th home run came, I believe, in the American League. Yes, it was against Tom Murphy of Milwaukee on 6/12/75. And in that game, Oakland lost. Billy Williams had a blast. It was a 3-run home run in the 8th inning to make the game close. And my last guy before I leave you, and this has been really a journey, just a fun look back using Baseball Reference as my thing. I know that Banks hit it off Pat Jarvis, number 500. I'd like to see who he hit 400 off real quick. That one you can see on YouTube. It was a day game in May of 1969, or I think it's 70. And he hit his 500th home run. But his 400th for a 2-time MVP. Great shortstop. Came off Kurt Simmons. So Simmons gave up home runs twice, 400 home runs to both Simmons. He gave it up to Ernie Banks. In that game, Ernie was 1 for 2. It was a 3-run blast. They won the game. And so Simmons is the victim not once, but twice. And the other, of course, the great Willie Mays. This has been Will O'Toole talking to you about the great players who have attained the 400-plus level of home runs in Major League Baseball. I hope you enjoyed my journey down memory lane of all things baseball, Major League home run hitters. Thank you for joining. See you next week with another episode.